St. Vincent and the Grenadines is an island country in the Caribbean. It is located in the southeast Windward Islands of the Lesser Antilles, which lie in the West Indies at the southern end of the eastern border of the Caribbean Sea where the latter meets the Atlantic Ocean. Its 369 square kilometers territory consists of the main island of St. Vincent and, south of that, two-thirds of the northern part of the Grenadines, a chain of 32 smaller islands. Some of the Grenadines are inhabited: Bequia, Mystique, Union Island, Canouan, Petit St. Vincent, Palm Island, Mero, Young Island, while others are not: Tobago Cays, Balasso, Batavia, Catra, Petite Mystique, Savin, and Petit Nevis. Most of St. Vincent and the Grenadines lies within the Hurricane Alley. To the north of St. Vincent lies St. Lucia, to the east is Barbados, and Grenada lies to the south. St. Vincent and the Grenadines has a population density of over 300 inhabitants/km2, with approximately 110,211 total inhabitants. Kingsdown is the capital and main port. St. Vincent has a British colonial history, and is now part of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, CARICOM, the Commonwealth of Nations, the Bolivarian Alliance for the Americas and the Community of Latin American and the Caribbean States. In April 2021, the La Soufriere volcano erupted several times with explosive events continuing. By 12th of April, 16,000 residents had evacuated the areas of their homes. Assistance and emergency financial support was being provided by several nearby islands, the United Kingdom and agencies such as the United Nations. The first significant offer of long-term funding, of $20 million, was announced on the 13th of April 2021 by the World Bank. Chapter 1, Etymology. Christopher Columbus, the first European to reach the island, named it after St. Vincent of Saragossa, whose feast day was on the day Columbus first saw it. The name of the Grenadines refers to the Spanish city of Granada, but to differentiate it from the island of the same name, the diminutive was used. Before the arrival of the Spaniards, the Kalinago natives who inhabited the island of St. Vincent called it Yulumain, in honor of Yuluka, the spirit of the rainbows, who they believed inhabited the island. Chapter 2, History. Chapter 2 Section 1, Pre-colonial period. Before the arrival of Europeans and Africans in the 16th century, various Amerindian groups passed through or settled on St. Vincent and the Grenadines, including the Siboney, Arawak, and Kalinago people. The island now known as St. Vincent was originally named Yulumain by the native island Caribs who called themselves Kalina/Karina. Chapter 2 Section 2, European arrival and early colonial period. It is thought that Christopher Columbus sighted the island in 1498, giving it the name St. Vincent. The indigenous Garifuna people, who became known as the Black Caribs, aggressively prevented European settlement on St. Vincent. Chapter 2 Section 3, French and British colonization and the First Kalinago War. Various attempts by the English and Dutch to claim the island proved unsuccessful, and it was the French who were first able to colonize the island, settling in the town of Barraoli on the leeward side of St. Vincent in 1719. The French brought with them enslaved Africans prisoners of war to work the plantations of sugar, coffee, indigo, tobacco, cotton and cocoa. The British captured the island and drove out the French from Barraoli during the 7 Years' War, a claim confirmed by the Treaty of Paris. On taking control of the island in 1763, the British laid the foundations of Fort Charlotte and also brought with them enslaved African prisoners of war to work on the island plantations. The Black Caribs, however, opposed to the British presence, entered into open conflict against the British, starting the First Carib War, which lasted from 1772 to 1773. During the Anglo-French War, the French recaptured St. Vincent in 1779. However, the British regained control under the Treaty of Versailles. Chapter 2 Section 4, British Colonial Period and the Second Kalinago War. The uneasy peace between the British and the Black Caribs led to the Second Carib War, which lasted from 1795 to 1796. The Black Caribs were led by Garifuna paramount chief Joseph Chatoya and supported by the French, notably the radical Victor Hughes from the island of Martinique. Their revolt and the uprising was eventually put down in 1797 by British General Sir Ralph Abercrombie. A peace treaty agreement was made which resulted in almost 5,000 Black Caribs being exiled to Roatan, an island off the coast of Honduras, and to Belize and Balaso in the Grenadines. In 1806, the construction of Fort Charlotte has completed. The La Soufriere volcano erupted in 1812, resulting in considerable destruction. The British abolished slavery in St. Vincent in 1834, and an apprenticeship period followed which ended in 1838. After its end, labor shortages on the plantations resulted, and were initially addressed by the immigration of indentured servants. In the late 1840s, many Portuguese immigrants arrived from Madeira, and between 1861 and 1888 shiploads of Indian laborers arrived. Conditions remained harsh for both former slaves and immigrant agricultural workers, as depressed world sugar prices kept the economy stagnant until the turn of the century. The economy then went into a period of decline. Many landowners abandoned their estates, leaving the land to be cultivated by liberated slaves. The Opobo King Yaya of Nigeria was exiled to St. Vincent after his 1887 arrest by the British for shipping cargoes of palm oil directly to Liverpool without the intermediation of the National African Company. Chapter 2 Section 5, 20th Century. In 1902, the La Soufriere volcano erupted, killing 1,500 to 2,000 people, much farmland was damaged, and the economy deteriorated. St. Vincent and the Grenadines passed through various stages of colonial status under the British. A representative assembly was authorized in 1776, Crown colony government was installed in 1877, a legislative council was created in 1925 with a limited franchise, and universal adult suffrage was granted in 1951. During the period of its control of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Britain made several attempts to unify the island with the other Windward Islands as a single entity, to simplify British control in the sub-region, through a single unified administration. In the 1960s, the British again tried to unify all of its regional islands, including St. Vincent, into a single politically unified entity under British control. The unification was to be called the West Indies Federation, and was driven by a desire to gain independence from the British government. However, the attempt collapsed in 1962. St. Vincent was granted associate statehood status by Britain on the 27th of October 1969. This gave St. Vincent complete control over its internal affairs but fell short of full independence in law. In April 1979, La Soufriere erupted again. Although no one was killed, thousands were evacuated and extensive agricultural damage occurred. On the 27th of October 1979, St. Vincent and the Grenadines gained full independence. The date is now the country's Independence Day, a public holiday. The country opted to remain within the British Commonwealth, retaining Queen Elizabeth as monarch, represented locally by a Governor-General. Chapter 2 Section 6, Post-Independence Era. Milton Cato of the centre-left St. Vincent Labour Party was the country's first Prime Minister, ruling until his defeat in the 1984 Vincentian general election by James Fitzalan Mitchell of the centre-right New Democratic Party. During Cato's time in office, there was a brief rebellion on Union Island in December 1979 led by Lennox Bumber Charles. Inspired by the recent revolution on Grenada, Charles alleged neglect of the Union by the central government. However, the revolt was swiftly put down and Charles was arrested. There were also a series of strikes in the early 1980s. James Mitchell remained Prime Minister for 16 years until 2000, winning 3 consecutive elections. Mitchell was at the forefront of attempts to improve regional integration. In 1980 and 1987, hurricanes damaged many banana and coconut plantations. Hurricane seasons were also very active in 1998 and 1999, with Hurricane Lenny in 1999 causing extensive damage to the west coast of the island. In 2000, Arnim Eustace became Prime Minister after taking over the leadership of the NDP following Mitchell's retirement. He was defeated a year later by Ralph Gonsalves of the Unity Labour Party. Gonsalves, a left-winger known in the country as Comrade Ralph, argued that European nations owe Caribbean nations reparations for their role in the Atlantic slave trade. Gonsalves won a second term in 2005, a third in 2010, and a fourth in 2015. In 2009, a referendum was held on a proposal to adopt a new constitution that would make the country a republic, replacing Queen Elizabeth II as head of state with a non-executive president, a proposal supported by Prime Minister Gonsalves. A two-thirds majority was required, but the referendum was defeated 29,019 votes to 22,493. In November 2020, Ralph Gonsalves, Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines since 2001, made history by securing the fifth consecutive victory of his Unity Labour Party in general election. In 2021, on the 9th of April, the La Soufriere volcano erupted, sending ash several miles into the atmosphere. Approximately 16,000 people were evacuated in the days leading up to the eruption. Chapter 3, Geography. St. Vincent and the Grenadines lies to the west of Barbados, south of St. Lucia and north of Grenada in the Windward Islands of the Lesser Antilles, an island arc of the Caribbean Sea. The islands of St. Vincent and the Grenadines include the main island of St. Vincent 344 square kilometers, and the northern two-thirds of the Grenadines 45 square kilometers, which are a chain of smaller islands, stretching south from St. Vincent to Grenada. There are 32 islands and cays that make up St. Vincent and the Grenadines. 9 are inhabited, including the mainland St. Vincent and the Grenadines Islands, Young Island, Bequia, Mystique, Canouan, Union Island, Mero, Petit St. Vincent, and Palm Island. Prominent uninhabited islands of the Grenadines include Petit Nevis, used by whalers, and Petit Mystique, which was the center of a prominent real estate scam in the early 2000s. The capital of St. Vincent and the Grenadines is Kingstown, St. Vincent. The main island of St. Vincent measures 26 kilometers long, 15 kilometers in width and 344 square kilometers in area. From the most northern to the most southern points, the Grenadine Islands belonging to St. Vincent span 60.4 kilometers, with a combined area of 45 square kilometers. The island of St. Vincent is volcanic and heavily forested, and includes little level ground. The windward side of the island is very rocky and steep, while the leeward side has more sandy beaches and bays. St. Vincent's highest peak is La Soufriere volcano at 1,234 meters. Other major mountains on St. Vincent are Richmond Peak, Mount Brisbane, Culinary Mountain, Grand Bonhomme, Petit Bonhomme and Mount St. Andrew. The country is home to 3 terrestrial ecoregions: Windward Islands moist forests, Leeward Islands dry forests, and Windward Islands dry forests. It had a 2019 Forest Landscape Integrity Index mean score of 6.95, ranking it 61st globally out of 172 countries. Chapter 4, Government and Politics. St. Vincent and the Grenadines is a parliamentary democracy and constitutional monarchy, with Elizabeth II as Queen of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. She does not reside in the islands and is represented as head of state in the country by the Governor-General of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, currently Susan Duggan. The office of Governor-General has mostly ceremonial functions, including the opening of the island's House of Assembly and the appointment of various government officials. Control of the government rests with the elected Prime Minister and his or her cabinet. The current Prime Minister is Ralph Gonsalves, elected in 2001 as head of the Unity Labour Party. The legislative branch of government is the unicameral House of Assembly of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, seating 15 elected members representing single-member constituencies and 6 appointed members known as senators. The parliamentary term of office is 5 years, although the Prime Minister may call elections at any time. The judicial branch of government is divided into district courts, the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court and the Privy Council of the United Kingdom in London being the court of last resort. Chapter 4 Section 1, Political Culture. The two political parties with parliamentary representation are the New Democratic Party, and the Unity Labour Party. The parliamentary opposition is made up of the largest minority stakeholder in the general elections, headed by the leader of the opposition. The current opposition leader is Godwin Friday. Chapter 4 Section 2, Military. St. Vincent has no formal armed forces, although the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines police force includes a special service unit as well as a militia that has a supporting role on the island. In 2017, St. Vincent signed the UN Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. Chapter 4 Section 3, Administrative Divisions. Administratively, St. Vincent and the Grenadines is divided into 6 parishes. 5 parishes are on St. Vincent, while the 6th is made up of the Grenadine Islands. Kingstown is located in the parish of St. George and is the capital city and central administrative centre of the country. Chapter 4 Section 4, LGBT Rights. Acts of gross indecency, which may be defined to include homosexual activity, are illegal in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Section 148 of the Criminal Code states, "Any person, who in public or private, commits an act of gross indecency with another person of the same sex, or procures or attempts to procure another person of the same sex to commit an act of gross indecency with him or her, is guilty of an offence and liable to imprisonment for 5 years." Chapter 5, Foreign Relations. Chapter 5 Section 1, International and Regional Relationships. St. Vincent and the Grenadines maintains close ties to Canada, the United Kingdom and the US, and cooperates with regional political and economic organizations such as the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States and CARICOM. The island nation's 6th embassy overseas was opened on the 8th of August, 2019 in Taipei, Taiwan, after Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves' official visit to the Republic of China. The other 5 are located in London, Washington, D.C., Havana, Caracas, and Brussels. Chapter 5 Section 1 Subsection 2 The Double Taxation Relief Treaty. On the 6th of July 1994 at Sherborne Conference Centre, St. Michael, Barbados, as a representative of the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, then signed the double taxation relief treaties. There were 7 other signatories to the agreement on that day. The countries which were represented were Antigua and Barbuda, Belize, Grenada, Jamaica, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, and Trinidad and Tobago. An 8th country signed the agreement on the 19th of August, 2016, Guyana. This treaty covered taxes, residence, tax jurisdictions, capital gains, business profits, interest, dividends, royalties and other areas. Chapter 5 Section 1 Subsection 3 FATCA. On the 30th of June 2014, St. Vincent and the Grenadines signed a Model 1 agreement with the United States of America with respect to foreign account tax compliance or FATCA according to the updated site as of the 16th of January 2017. On the 13th of May 2016 the agreement went to enforce status. Chapter 5 Section 1 Subsection 4 International and regional bodies to which St. Vincent and the Grenadines belong. St. Vincent and the Grenadines is a member of the United Nations, the Commonwealth of Nations, the Organization of American States, and the Association of Caribbean States. In September 2017, at the 72nd session of the UN General Assembly, the Prime Ministers of the Solomon Islands, Tuvalu, Vanuatu and St. Vincent and the Grenadines called for UN action on alleged human rights abuses committed on Western New Guinea's indigenous Papuans. Western New Guinea has been occupied by Indonesia since 1963. More than 100,000 Papuans have died during a 50-year Papua conflict. Chapter 5 Section 1 Subsection 5 Organization of American States. St. Vincent and the Grenadines joined the Organization of American States on the 27th of October 1981. It participates in the Summits of the Americas and the Indigenous Leaders Summits of Americas. Chapter 5 Section 2, European Nations. In 2013, St. Vincent called for European nations to pay reparations for the slave trade. Chapter 5 Section 3, Venezuela. St. Vincent protests against Venezuela's claim to give full effect to Aves Island, which creates a Venezuelan is/continental shelf extending over a large portion of the Caribbean Sea. Chapter 6, Economy. Agriculture, dominated by banana production, is the most important sector of this lower middle-income economy. The services sector, based mostly on a growing tourist industry, is also important. The government has been relatively unsuccessful at introducing new industries, and the unemployment rate remains high at 19.8% in the 1991 census to 15% in 2001. The continuing dependence on a single crop represents the biggest obstacle to the island's development as tropical storms wiped out substantial portions of bananas in many years. There is a small manufacturing sector and a small offshore financial sector serving international businesses. Its secrecy laws have caused some international concern. There are increasing demands for international financial services like stock exchange and financial intermediaries' financial activities in the country. In addition, the natives of Bequia are permitted to hunt up to 4 humpback whales per year under IWC subsistence quotas. Chapter 6, Section 1, Tourism. The tourism sector has considerable potential for development. The filming of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies on the island has helped to expose the country to more potential visitors and investors. Recent growth has been stimulated by strong activity in the construction sector and an improvement in tourism. Chapter 6, Section 2, Transportation. Argyle International Airport is the country's new international airport. The new facility opened on the 14th of February 2017, replacing the existing E.T. Joshua Airport. The airport is on the island's east coast about 8.3 kilometers from Kingstown. Chapter 6, Section 3, Communications. In 2010, St. Vincent and the Grenadines had 21,700 telephone landlines. Its land telephone system is fully automatic, covering the entire island and all of the inhabited Grenadine islands. In 2002, there were 10,000 mobile phones. By 2010, this number had increased to 131,800. Mobile phone service is available in most areas of St. Vincent as well as the Grenadines. St. Vincent has 2 ISPs that provide cellular telephone and internet service. Chapter 7, Demographics. The population as estimated in 2018 was 110,211. The ethnic composition was 66% African descent, 19% of mixed descent, 6% East Indian, 4% Europeans, 2% Kalinago, and 3% others. Most Vincentians are the descendants of African people brought to the island to work on plantations. There are other ethnic groups such as Portuguese and East Indians, both brought in to work on the plantations after the abolishing of slavery by the British living on the island. There is also a growing Chinese population. Chapter 7 Section 1, Languages. English is the official language. Most Vincentians speak Vincentian Creole. English is used in education, government, religion, and other formal domains, while Creole is used in informal situations such as in the home and among friends. Chapter 7 Section 2, Religion. According to the 2001 census, 81.5% of the population of St. Vincent and the Grenadines identified themselves as Christian, 6.7% has another religion and 8.8% has no religion or did not state a religion. Anglicanism constitutes the largest religious category, with 17.8% of the population. Pentecostals are the second largest group. The next largest group are Methodists, followed by Seventh-day Adventists and Baptists. Other Christians include Roman Catholics, Evangelicals, Church of God, Brethren Christian, Jehovah's Witnesses and the Salvation Army. Between 1991 and 2001 the number of Anglicans, Brethren, Methodists and Roman Catholics decreased, while the number of Pentecostals, Evangelicals and Seventh-day Adventists increased. The number of non-Christians is small. These religious groups include the Rastafari, Hindus and Muslims. Chapter 8, Culture. Chapter 8 Section 1, Sport. Cricket, rugby and association football are most popular among men, whereas netball is most popular among women. Basketball, volleyball and tennis are also very popular. The country's prime football league is the NLA Premier League, which provides its national football team with most players. A notable Vincentian footballer is Ezra Hendrickson, former national team captain who played at several major league soccer clubs in the United States and is now an assistant coach with the Seattle Sounders FC. The country regularly participates at the Caribbean Basketball Championship, where a men's team and a women's team compete. St. Vincent and the Grenadines also has its own national rugby union team, which is ranked 84th in the world. Other notable sports played at the regional level include track and field. Natasha Mayers won a gold medal in the 100 meters at the 2010 Commonwealth Games. Kinique Alexander won a bronze medal in the women's at the 2015 Pan American Games. Zwart Coombs got a bronze medal in the 400 meters at the 1995 Pan American Games. Chapter 8 Section 2, Music. Music popular in St. Vincent and the Grenadines includes big drum, calypso, soca, steel pan and reggae. String band music, quadrille and traditional storytelling are also popular. One of the most successful St. Vincent natives is Kevin Little. He was named Cultural Ambassador for the island the 19th of September 2013. The national anthem of St. Vincent and the Grenadines is St. Vincent, Land So Beautiful, adopted upon independence in 1979. Chapter 8 Section 3, Media. St. Vincent has 12 FM radio stations, 88.9 Adoration FM, 89.1 Gem Radio, 89.7 NBC Radio, 95.7 and 105.7 Praise FM, 96.7 Nice Radio, 97.1 Hot 97, 98.3 Star FM, 99.9 We FM, 103.7 Hits, 102.7 Easy Radio, 104.3 Extreme FM and 106.9 Boom FM. There are several internet radio stations including Chronicles Christian Radio. It has one television broadcast station ZBG TV, and one cable television provider. St. Vincent and the Grenadines Broadcasting Corporation is the parent company for SVG TV, Magic 103.7. Chapter 8 Section 4, Holidays. Chapter 9, Notable People of Vincentian Descent. 21 Savage, rapper. Lincoln Alexander, lawyer. Kevin Little, musician/singer. Skinny Fabulous, soca musician/singer. Protogue, reggae singer. Judy Boucher, reggae singer. Jamal Edwards, entrepreneur. Ashley Kane, footballer. Jesse Lingard, footballer. Adonal Foyle, American basketball. Nikhil Harry, American football. Nzinga Prescott, American Olympic foil fencer. Dan Kaplan, singer-songwriter. Mist, artist. Marlon Rudette, singer-songwriter. Oyaboon, rapper. Cassie Ventura, singer.